Hello and welcome back to the Blob Blaze, our Lone Wolf Wednesdays, Lone Wolf Saga. We are up to Book 5, Shadow on the Sand. The story so far. You are Lone Wolf, the last of the Kai Lords, the sole survivor of a massacre that destroyed your order during a bitter war with your age-old enemies, the Dark Lords of Helgadad. If you possess the high skill of animal friendship and have the blessing of the good boy, proceed yes. Although good girl. Primrose's best girl. It is midwinter in your northern homeland and the mantle of snow lies knee-deep in the streets of Holmgard. Oh god, no, that sounds terrible. The capital, when you are summoned from your monastery in the hills by a messenger bearing a scroll, signed and sealed by the hand of the king. You're surprised to read the king's message. It is a request for your help in solving the urgent problem, which he describes as one of great diplomatic importance. It seems a strange request to make of you, a warrior lord, whose skills are better suited to the field of battle than to parley with foreign envoys. However, you obey the summons, and upon your arrival at the capital, all is made clear. The Zakan of Vasagonia, the imperial ruler of the Desert Empire, has sent his most trusted envoy to seek a treaty of peace between your countries. And you have been asked to sign the treaty on behalf of your country. The reason for this is easily apparent. Less than a year ago, the renegade noble Baraka of Vasnagonia led his army of bandits in an attack upon the province of Ruanan. The mining town and much of the surrounding land was overrun and destroyed. Many of your people lost their lives, and many more were enslaved and forced into labour in the mines of the Makan Range. When the regular convoy of Ruanan failed to arrive at the capital, the king sent you to investigate. Yeah, basically, last book happened. See last episode if you want more details. Your Majesty, the Zakan is gravely embarrassed by Baraka's foul treachery, and is most anxious that our friendship and trust be restored. He begs that I send you, the Kai warrior, Lone Wolf, to sign a treaty of peace with him at the Grand Palace in Barrakesh. Not Marrakesh, Barrakesh. Oh, to be a child and not realize these things. Whimpers the Zakan emissary as he kneels at the feet of King Olnar. The king rises from his throne, barely able to conceal his distaste for the fawning envoy. He turns his gaze to you and bids you follow him to the privacy of the antechamber. I have no liking for the desert realm, Lone Wolf, but I like the prospect of war even less. The Zakan is old and frail, and has no son to claim his throne when he dies. Baraka was but one of the many ruthless nobles who wait like jackals for a chance to seize power upon his passing. I fear they grow too impatient to see the Zakan die a natural death. This treaty may not guarantee peace with Vasagonia once he is dead, but it will at least buy us precious time to strengthen our southern border. The king leads you to a window and points towards the harbour, barely visible through the falling snow. A Vasagonian galley lies anchored close to the harbour wall. Go to Vasagonia, sign the peace treaty, and return quickly. Even with a promise of peace, I fear the shadow of war will fall upon us before the year is out. You wave farewell to Holmgard on this bleak winter's day, feeling sure you will return before the thaw. But as you watch the spires of Holmgard disappear in the falling snow, you have no inkling of the shadow that awaits you in Vasagonia. We may pick another skill, so do I want Mind Shield or Weapon Skill? The trouble with Weapon Skill is when you roll it, you're probably not going to roll it with Sword, because there's like Sword, Glaive, Spear, Quarterstaff, Axe, Dagger, Bow. And if you get almost anything other than Sword, you just don't want it, because 99% of the time you're going to be using the Summer Sword. Yeah, it's like I got Warhammer, and that's useless. The Kai Monastery has been rebuilt. Ooh, that's interesting. You can leave some of your objects here, as your backpack is limited to 8 items. Remember that objects you leave here will not be available until you return to the monastery. Okay, kneel. meal. I think 2 meals is enough to keep on us. I can store crowns in the... Ooh, no. I'm allowed to have 50 on me. Yes, withdraw all my crowns. Until I have 50 on me, there's no point in saving them. Before you leave, you may add 10 gold crowns. I should have deposited down to like 36, but whatever. I will take another healing potion and some food. Your mission is one of peaceful diplomacy, but beware. The Desert Empire of Vasagonia is notorious for being a land of deceit and treachery. Be on your guard at all times. Make notes as you progress. You will find them of great help in future adventures. Many things you find may aid you. Some special items will be of use in future books, and others may be red herrings with no real use. Be selective in what you decide to keep. Blah, 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 blah. No matter what you roll for combat skill and endurance, if you're smart, you should be able to win. For 25 days, the Vasagonian galley sails on a steady course for its home port of Barrakesh, with only a brief stop at the Duranese harbour of Port Bax to break a safe but monotonous voyage. You use your time aboard the ship to good purpose, learning the Vasagonian language from the ship's crew, which are only too eager to help you, asking only in return for tales of your adventures in the last lands. For many of the sailors, these are the most exciting stories they have ever heard. By the time you reach Barrakesh, you have both mastered their language and won their respect. 5 days to learn a new language. We are mighty skilled. We have entered from off-screen. Down here to Barrakesh. This is a desert land. There are some oases. Mountains, rocky spires. Apparently there's a salt lake somewhere. Ah, down here in the islands. Sure, whatever. It is early afternoon when the ramparts of the desert capital are first sighted on the horizon. You push your way through the cheering crew and join the envoy at the prow of the ship. Beaming with pride, he hands you a telescope and invites you to view the land of his birth. The sight is indeed breathtaking. You stare in fascination at the golden domes, minarets, and green-tiled roofs that shimmer beneath the desert sun. Marvel at the splendor of the grand palace which dominates the magnificent city. You notice that from every golden turret of the palace flutters a long black pennant. You ask the envoy the meaning of the flags. Horror floods across his face as he snatches the telescope. By the spirit of the Majan, he is dead. The Deccan is dead. As the bad news spreads through the ship, you pray that the peace treaty will be signed and honored by his successor. However, your envoy is less than hopeful. The harbor of Barrakesh... I feel... whatever. Is deserted save for a handful of citizens clad in black, and the only sound that greets you is the toll of a funeral bell, echoing through the harbour on this day of mourning. A horse-drawn carriage enters the harbour square, escorted by the cavalry of the palace guard. It halts, and a dour man in turquoise robes steps out to meet you. 1,000 greetings, Lone Wolf. I am Malk, and I welcome you to our city on behalf of my master, His Most Sublime Magnificence, Zakan Kimar. The envoy grasps upon hearing the name of the new Zakan. He turns to speak. It is a trap, you must... His warning is cut short by a blade of Mauk's dagger. Suddenly, scores of black-clad warriors emerge from the shadows. They are Shah Nazim, elite Vasagonian bodyguards. They close in and surround you from every side. You must act quickly if you are to survive this deadly trap. If you wish to stand and fight against these overwhelming odds, turn to 36. If you wish to run back to the boat, turn to 104. If you wish to surrender, let's see if we can fight. The grim-faced Sharazim encircle you, their razor-sharp scimitars glinting in the sun. Take him! Take him alive! The warriors sheathe their swords and wait for you a chance to rush you. Could it be draw? 6 lie dead at your feet before you are eventually overpowered. You are brave, he says in a mocking tone, but you will need more than bravery to save you now. You are stripped of all your items! No! Your hands are tied behind your back and you are pushed head first into the waiting carriage. Back to the palace, he commands. The Zakan awaits his prize. You fight to free the cords that bind you, but he is quick to see this danger. He grabs your arm and forces a dart into your skin. Sleep engulfs your senses. You hear him wickedly laughing as everything fades into silence. Make the necessary adjustments to your chart. List all these things that have been confiscated from you on a separate piece of paper, in case you should discover them later in the adventure. You wake in great discomfort. Every muscle of your body feels knotted and bruised. You force open your eyelids, clogged with dry sweat, and look with dread at your wretched surroundings. You are lying on the hard stone floor of a prison cell. Over by the far wall, beneath a window crisscrossed with iron bars, is a low wooden bunk covered in filthy rags. Cockroaches, some the size of field mice, scuttle along the foul-smelling gutter that disappears into the grating of the floor. Make sure you removed everything. You discover your hands are free and slowly pull yourself upright into a sitting position, resting your back against the cell door. A faint draft from the corridor outside provides the only relief from the stifling heat and bad air of the cell. In the distance, you can hear footsteps approaching. Then there is a jangle of keys and a creaking of hinges. The door closes with a dull thud, more footsteps getting louder. They come to a halt outside the cell door, and a loud voice bellows, "Sleeping on duty? Sephrau, you'll wake on the other side of this door if the captain catches you." The chair scrapes along the ground, and a startled voice, full of indignation, replies, "Curse you, Hajj." Zakan doesn't want the northerner taken to the Great Hall until sunset. You've cheated me of 2 hours of sleep. "Shut up, Sephrau," snarls the first voice, "and listen hard. I have come from the armory. Some interesting trinkets were found on the northerner. Worth a great deal of gold, I'll say. Seems a pity to let them go to waste." The 2 guards chuckle greedily and discuss at length the good time they will be able to have in the city once they have sold your equipment. "Take a peek at our friend," says one of the guards. "I wonder if he's enjoying our hospitality." A spy hole slides open above your head and you hear a gasp of shock. He's gone! By the Majin, we'll lose our heads." You suddenly realize that you cannot be seen so close to the door. "Let me see," hisses the other guard, eager to see for himself. You hear a click of a key in the lock. This could be your chance to escape. Attack them as soon as they open the door. Your clenched fist strikes the man beneath his bearded jaw, lifting him from the floor with the power of your blow. His sword drops from his hand and clatters to the ground at your feet. Pick up the sword. You stoop to grasp the sword, but your fingers close around the hilt and the second guard attacks you. Ignore all endurance points lost by the enemy for the first round of combat, for you may only attempt to parry his blow. No. Equip normal sword. So, good. It's said that the game has done the right thing and tracked that he wasn't meant to lose health this round. Your enemy was able to stab you before you killed him, but he didn't harm you too greatly. We won the fight quickly. The guard clutches at the wounds and drops lifeless to the ground. You see the other man is recovering from your blow and clawing at the cell door to try and pull himself to his feet. I will try and capture him alive. You grasp the frightened guard in a secure headlock and threaten to break his neck if he doesn't answer your questions. He promises to tell you everything he knows. He says that the new Zakan fears that you are an assassin sent by his enemies in the west. He claims to hate the new Zakan. He is only a simple jailer and knows nothing more. Use our sixth sense. He is lying! He knows that other guards are sure to turn up at any moment. Kill him! He lied to us. He deserves no mercy. Your attack is swift and deadly. Before he can scream for help, you have silenced him for good, with an open-handed chop to the neck. Search the bodies. A dagger, a warhammer. A warhammer is actually useful, seeing as we rolled warhammer on our weapons proficiency list. Gold crowns and a jailer's key. Crowns, hammer, key. And we'll trade the sword for a dagger. Thank you. The corridor heads north, but soon ends at a junction where another passage runs across from east to west. Cautiously, you peer around the corner. There are no signs of any guards. At the end of the passageway, you can see a flight of stairs descending out of view to the west, and you see a closed door. Head towards the door. The heavy door is reinforced with black bands of iron held in place by huge bronze studs. You turn the handle to find that the door is locked. We have the key. Once you have unlocked the door, you twist the handle open a few inches. You see a stair descending to a small chamber, where a black robed soldier is guarding a pair of iron gates. Through the bars, you see rows of weapons and suits of armor. A sign fixed to the bars says, Grand Palace Armory. We have camouflage. You disguise your accent and call out to the guard, Quick, we need help, the Northerlander is escaping. Immediately, the guard leaps to his feet and charges up the stairs towards the door. You wait until he reaches the top step before you attack. One kick to the knee sends him tumbling backwards into the chamber, and he falls in a heap at the foot of the stairs. You enter the chamber, poised to strike it again should he recover. However, this caution is unnecessary. He is dead, his neck broken from the fall. Search his body. You find another jailer's key. More crowns and a dagger. The iron gates of the armory are unlocked. You push open the left gate and wince as a shrill squeak from the dry hinge sends a shiver down your spine. Inside, at the end of a long aisle, is a workbench littered with spearheads, sword hilts, and all manners of armorer's tools. In the midst of this tangled mess is a large black leather-bound book. Open the book. It is an armory log. It contains handwritten lists of all the work carried out here. Swords and spears made for the garrison of Karakala. Ore shipments from the Vakar Mountains, weapons due for repair, and all manner of daily routines are carefully recorded. You are about to discard the log when you notice a folded piece of parchment tucked into the spine. It is a list of dates and numbers, with a heading in bold print, The Bronze Door. You scan the page and locate today's date. Next to it is listed the number 67. Make sure to note this number in the margins of your action chart, as it will be useful later in the adventure. You throw the book back onto the cluttered bench and begin your search for your equipment. You are disappointed to find that nothing here contains your missing equipment. All hope of signing a peace treaty has vanished. Your only concern now is to find your equipment and escape the palace. You must return home as quickly as possible. You pull aside a latticed partition and enter a small antechamber. Narrow stone steps lead onto an open door in the north wall, beside which stands a wooden chest. While the chest sounds like it might hold our crap. The chest is plain except for a small square of red metal bolted to the top. There is no lock, but instinctively you avoid opening the lid with your hands, in case it is booby-trapped. You notice a wooden bucket nearby and a ladle. Using a ladle to lever open the chest, you push back the lid. It is not booby-trapped, but your caution was well placed. Coiled on a bed of jeweled encrusted maces lies a non-poisonous but large Vasagonian snake. A red forked tongue flicks out of its yellow head as it prepares to defend its valuable bed. Kill it. It's only a snake. Defeat snake. No. Equip hammer, which helps my combat skill. 2, 3. Snake dealt 1 damage to me. The great snake shudders and convulses in the throes of death. The smell of its thick brown blood is disgusting, and you have to hold your breath. and grit your teeth as you lift the dead snake away from the chest and peer inside. There are 6 silver-handled maces, each beautifully carved and encrusted with rubies, emeralds, and pearls. In the Northlands, these weapons would fetch thousands of crowns. At the bottom of the chest, you discover a small copper key. If you wish to take either of these, mark them on your action chart as special items. The acidic smell of the snake blood is beginning to make you retch. You leave the armory via the north door. Sure, I'll take these things. Why not? Oh, and we need to update our overlay. Whoops, I'm an idiot. We're up to book 5. You step into a perfect hemisphere. The walls of the chamber curve smoothly to the ceiling, where a small window casts a splash of light upon the floor. There is a large circular dais in the center of the room, laden with incense burners, decanters, quilts, scrolls, cloaks. I lost my page. Cloaks. Urns and all kinds of fruit and sweetmeats. A drawer catches your eye. Protruding from beneath the lip of the dais, you recognize its contents. You have found your confiscated equipment. Oh, yes, please and thank you. Give me everything. Everything. Goodbye, dagger. Hello. Summer sword. I don't need a sword or a dagger, so now I have Summer Sword, Warhammer, Dagger. Elated by your discovery, you resolve to escape from the palace as quickly as possible. There is only one other door, apart from the one by which you entered the chamber, set into the north wall. Let's look for more useful items. You sift through the vast number of items on the dais and find the following, which may or may not be of use. Get rid of a meal. Take the extra potion. Take the silver comb. Okay, get rid of a meal. Take the silver comb. Don't know why that would be useful, but okay. And get rid of 1 potion for an hourglass. Get rid of 1 potion for a prism. Possibly useless, but we've never needed any of that. I think we've used a grand total of 1 healing potion, ever. You follow a straight passage of pale, rose-coloured stone, which ends in an empty vestibule. In the north wall is a great wooden door, covered with engraved bronze plaques, and studded with bronze nails. There is a curious lock set into the middle, encircled by a beautiful carving of a long-tailed scorpion. A closer look at the lock reveals a series of Vasagonian numerals. You recognize the design. It is a Cloasian combination lock. If you know the number that will open the bronze door, turn to that numbered section, which is 67. Yes, this is the correct combination. Proceed to section 67. You hear a faint click followed by a soft whirring noise. The bronze door slides open. As you hurry through, the door clicks shut behind your back, as softly as it had opened. Instinct tells you that you have entered the chambers of the Upper Palace, the sumptuous private enclave of the Zakan. You walk upon glistening tiles of opal and platinum, past sculptures and statues of pure gold. The door is of solid amethyst, seems plain in comparison to the breathtaking splendor of this private world. Beyond the door lies another unique and startlingly beautiful world. The Arboreum, a circular, cathedral-like arena, spreads out below you. The green, velvety canopy alive with the sound of birdsong. Trees of every color, shape, and size flourish in the deep, dark soil of the floor. The Zakan's Arboreum houses a specimen of every tree that grows in Magnamund, and many species that are now extinct elsewhere. As you walk the wrought iron balcony which encircles the arboretum, you recognize the leaves of a summerling oak. You feel a wave of homesickness, but it does not make you despair. Rather, it renews your determination to escape from this hostile, sun-bleached land. At one of the exits from the arboretum, you discover a quarterstaff propped up against the wall. You may take it if you wish. Mark it on your action chart. The desire to escape urges you on as you leave the arboretum and hurry through the network of lavish corridors and empty deserted vestibules. You reach a landing where a broad staircase descends to a massive room that occupies most of the lower palace. From the top of the stairs, hidden by the shadow of a pilaster? What is a pilaster? I know what a plaster would be, but what is a pilaster? A rectangular... Oh, we've had this word before and I didn't know it then either. Pilaster, pilaster, pilaster. You stare down on a sight that freezes your blood with terror. I don't want the quarterstaff. Upon a raised platform carpeted with scarlet furs sits the Emperor, Zakan Kemar. He is robed in gold, but devoid of all ornamentation. In his hand is an orb of black metal, and his eye icy cold with cruelty, and it chills your spine. The Zakan is a man of awesome countenance, but he pales in the shadow of his companion. Before him stands the cause of your terror. A helm as black as death itself hides the face, but the stench of decay and a hideous sepulchral voice betrays the identity. Give me lone wolf. It is the fell voice of a mortal enemy, a dark lord of Helgadad. As the Zakan rises to his feet, you notice a flicker of doubt, or perhaps fear, dims his cruel gaze. But he is quick to mask it. He will be brought to you at sunset in exchange for the Orb of Death. As was agreed. You have the orb. Give me lone wolf. The Zakan hides his fear well, but time is not on his side. The game of bluff he is playing is a deadly one. However, the fact that he has not yet been discovered is evidence of his powerful will. You sense the Dark Lord is persistently clawing and probing at his mind. You will get your Northernder, Lord Hakon, says Zakan, his voice curt with anger, when you tell me why your servants defile the tomb of the Magihan. You claim to have no need for gold or jewels. Why then do you plunder the grave of our ancestors? A deathly quiet fills the hall. Only the unnatural hiss of the Dark Lord's breath disturbs the silence. This land is an insignificant speck of sand, and harbours two small thorns that pricks our skin. We seek to remove them both forever. The fledgling Kai Lone Wolf is a thorn that denies us Summerland. The tomb of the Majhan hides the other thorn that threatens us. The accursed Book of the Magna Kai. Your heart pounds as the words echo in your head. The Book of the Magna Kai. Suddenly the reasons why you've been enticed into this death trap become clear, and the truth is revealed. The Book of the Magna Kai is one of the oldest legends of Summerland. With the wisdom of the Magna Kai, Sun Eagle, first Kai Grand Master, instilled the disciplines into the warriors of House of Ulnar, the bloodline of your king, that were to save your land from devastation at the hands of the Dark Lords. The Book of the Magna Kai was lost hundreds of years ago. Its wisdom has been kept alive, handed down through generations of summer-lending warriors, so that they could share the strength to resist their eternal enemies, the Dark Lords of Helgadad. If the Dark Lords discover and destroy the book, secrets will be lost forever, and when you die, the Kai will be extinct. If you discover the book first and deny the Dark Lords their prize, the wisdom of the Magna Kai could be revealed to you, and through its wisdom, you will become strong enough to reach the ultimate achievement, to become a Kai Grand Master. The peril and the glory of this quest that lies ahead of you are distracting. Distracting you from the far more immediate danger. You will have to discover this danger And to begin the quest for the Book of Magnikai, turn to part 2 of Shadow on the Sand, in section 201. Suddenly you catch sight of 2 warriors creeping towards you from a passage to your right. They are clad in jet black armor and scarlet robes. Their hideous death masks identify themselves as Dracurum warriors. They are men, but evil men, as evil as the Dark Lords they serve. One holds a razor-flanged Akataz, a creeping, leathery war dog. Bless me. Bless me. Straining on a chain leash. The Drakan hisses and the Akataz springs towards your throat. Sure, we will defeat the doggo. It leaps, you fall back, you're winded, it jolts the air from your lungs, costs you a hit point. You spring to your feet, the dog runs towards you. Kill him! Yells the master, and they unsheathe their swords. They attack you. Okay. We will swap back to using the summer sword, because it gives even more plus combat skill than my mastery of the hammer does. Two rounds kills the first enemy. You glance the silhouette of Dark Lord Hakon in the hole, his spiked fist raised. There is a deafening crack as a bolt of blue lightning streaks from a stone in the Dark Lord's hand and hurtles towards you. You dive for cover behind the body of the Dakar as the bolt explodes in a flash of light. The body is gone. Only cinders and the rotten odor of scorched flesh remain. You scramble to your feet and sprint along the passage. Another bolt hurtles from the hole, tearing into the ceiling with shattering effect. Splinters of razor-sharp marble whistle down, slashing your cloak and tunic. You race down some stairs, through a silver archway, and along a balcony that overlooks the lower palace. The peal of bells and the crunch of iron-shod boots echo in your ears. The Zakan has sounded the alarm, and his guards close in from every side. At the end of the balcony is another arch and a stairway, both of which look deserted. Now let's go to the arch. You run through the arch and straight into a black-robed palace guard. You bruise your ribs, and the impact throws you off balance. But you manage to grab the wall and stop yourself from falling over. The guard lies sprawled upon the floor, but with incredible swiftness, he draws a shining steel axe and slashes at your legs. If you have hunting, add 2 to the number you roll. We roll presumably well. You whirl your feet away from the shining steel and narrowly escape being wounded as the axe bites inches deep into the polished stone floor. Before the guard can strike another blow, you lash out, sending the axe spinning from his hands. He screams, clutching broken fingers to his chest. You turn and run towards the door. The air is filled with the sound of pounding feet. For the palace guards are on full alert. Together with the Dakarim, they are now bent on finding and killing you as quickly as possible. Beyond the door, a bridge rises at a slanted angle over the enclosed garden, joining this part of the palace to a needle-like tower of white marble. At the entrance to the bridge, a narrow stair disappears into the garden below. We'll try and cross the bridge and enter the tower. Inside the cool marble tower, 2 flights of spiral stairs meet at a landing. You detect the sound of distant running feet, growing louder. It is coming from one of the spiral staircases, but which one? Suddenly, a band of warriors appears. They are crossing the bridge that leads to the tower, and you must escape. We have 6th sense, so Spidey sense tells us which one is the one that they're coming from, and you go up the other one. The stairs are high and steep. You gasp for breath and force your aching legs to climb. For the Drakarim are less than a dozen steps behind you. At the top of the tower, an open arch leads out onto a platform where a huge kettle drum stands. This is used by the tower guard to send messages to the other palace towers. Its bleached hide is stretched across its surface, and a black wooden beater hangs from the side. Push the drum down the stairs. Sure, why not? The heavy copper drum rolls from its wooden base and crashes into the tower stair. A thunderous boom echoing from the dark as it careens on a collision course with the enemy. Screams of horror are cut short as the drum hurtles through the ranks of Dracarim, crushing them into the hard stone steps. Your quick action has scattered your pursuers, but victory turns sour when you discover that you are trapped. There are no other stairs from the platform. You have delayed them, but your reprieve is only temporary. If you possess a rope, you may use it to climb down into the gardens below. Tying one end of the rope to the parapet rail, drop the other end over the side. And glissage? What the hell is glissade? A way of sliding down a steep slope of snow or ice on the feet with the support of an ice axe. Or, for ballet, a movement typically used as a joining step, in which one leg is brushed outwards from the body, which then takes the weight while the second leg is brushed in to meet it. Well, I doubt we're doing ballet, so it's probably the sliding down a steep slope. In a complete daze, you tumble and spin, unaware of whether you are falling head first or feet first. The warm wind tears at your face, forcing your eyelids and mouth open. You can barely breathe. You scream with terror until you hit the upper branches of a toa tree. In the next instant, you hit water, rapidly surfacing and instinctively beginning to pump your legs. You have no idea in which direction you are swimming, but 3 strokes finds yourself at the side of this deep, sculpted pool. Still shaking from the shock of the impact, you crawl your way onto a mossy bank. Miraculously, you have escaped injury. Your ideal is far from over. The Dracarim and the palace guards watched your fall and at this very moment are racing from the tower and the bridge to the palace gardens. Ahead of you, beyond a tree-lined colonnade, a flight of steps ascends to a small portal in a wall of the upper palace. To your right, a leafy tunnel winds away into the trees and shrubs. We have tracking, so we may use tracking. Your sense of tracking reveals that the winding path leads into the Arboretum, this cathedral of trees. The stairs to the portal leads to the private chambers in the upper palace, though you still cannot tell what the chamber contains. Sure, let's head to the chamber. Beyond the portal lies a vaulted corridor leading to a grand stairway. You narrowly avoid confrontation with a dozen Dracarim, saved by your lightning reactions. As the enemy rush from the archway onto the second floor landing, you dive behind a statue of the recently deceased Zakan. They are so intent on their chase that they fail to notice your hiding place and hurry down the stairs, grunting in their heavy armor. Silently, you give thanks that Zakan Mudala was a very stout man and that his statue casts a very large shadow in which to hide. At the top of the stairway, you discover a hatch, which gives access to the roof. You climb through it and follow a path of sun-bleached tiles that wind in and out of the domes and turrets, eventually leading to a bell tower. You are exhausted and need to rest, your mind still full of the shock of your encounter with Dark Lord Hakon. Hakon? The sound of his terrible voice repeating the words, "The Book of the Magna Chi," echoes again and again in your mind. With desperation sapping your will, you peer out through a grill in the bell tower. The sight before you renews your flagging hope, for it inspires a daring escape plan. Below the bell tower, you see a line of Itikar pens, each with its own circular landing platform. They are a breed of huge black birds that nest in eyries high in the peaks of the Dahir and Vakar mountains. One sec, sorry. The Vazagonians have long since tamed these giants of the sky, using them as winged mounts for their army leaders, their scouts, couriers, and envoys. An Ikatar and rider swoop down from the reddening sky and alight upon a platform near the bell tower. Slaves hurl a rope to the rider, who in turn fixes it to a saddle ring before he jumps to the ground. The Ikatar claws and beats its huge wings as it's slowly winched into a pen by a hidden capstan. The rider and slaves leave the platform. There is now only one sentry on guard at the pen. You could overpower him. You could make your escape on the back of the giant bird. I do not have a blow dart. You leave the bell tower and make your way down towards the sentry. At first, dodging from one turret to the next. It is easy to remain unseen. However, for the final 30 yards to the platform landing, you will have no cover. For the platform and the palace roof are linked by an exposed gangplank. If you were to overpower the sentry, you must cross the gangplank undetected. If you have the force, turn to page 295. Focusing your skill on a money pouch that hangs on the sentry's belt, you concentrate on untying the leather thong that secures it. Seconds later, the pouch drops to the ground and spills its contents. The guard yelps in horror as he sees his gold rolling over the edge of the platform and drops to his knees to gather what little remains. As he turns his back, you break cover and run across the gangplank. Your speed and stealth carry you across the gangplank undetected. When you strike, he is still on his knees, picking up his scattered gold. Your attack is silent and deadly. Search his body. 8 gold crowns and a brass whistle. Somehow I feel like the whistle might be useful in taming the birdie. You already have too much money. Whistle got. The great black bird beats its massive wings. Cawing! Hoarsely through the domed pen. 2 black eyes, fierce and cold, fix you with a deadly stare. As you edge nearer to its perch. Grabbing the saddle pommel, you haul yourself up, but suddenly there is a flash of razor-sharp talons. Instinctively you shield your face, as a glint of orange sunlight is caught on the Ikatar's curved beak, for it slashes the air inches above your head. If you have animal kinship, turn to this page. It can take many years for a rider to tame an Ikatar. By their nature, they are wild and malicious creatures. You use your skill to communicate with it, to assure it you mean no harm. It fixes you with a cold black stare, and you sense it is no longer hostile. As you settle in its wide saddle, you catch sight of the Dracarim. They stream across the gangplank. Quickly you lean forward, unhook the anchor rope from the saddle, and grab the thick leather reins. You are jerked backwards in the saddle as the Ikatar leaves its perch. It shrieks and caws, its wings beating as loud as thunder. A handful of Dracarim are scattered as if they were rag dolls as the great black bird emerges from the pen and takes to the sky. You catch a glimpse of the Drakkar, his death mask slashed in two by the bird's razor-sharp talons. As he pitches from the landing platform and tumbles to his death in the gardens of the palace below. The golden domes of the palace grow smaller as the Ikatar gathers speed. Soon you have passed over the city wall and are headed out towards the shimmering salt flats of Lake Inrahim. The land below is bathed in beautiful orange twilight. As the sun slowly sinks behind the Dahir Mountains to the west, elated by your escape, you throw back your head and give voice to a triumphant yell that is carried away on the chill evening wind. As if in answer to your cry, an echoing chorus of shrieks pierce the sky. Fear returns to your heart as you catch sight of a flock of Kran, hideous leather-winged flyers. Each carries a Dracarim warrior on its back. They are a mile behind you, but closing the gap. Less than an hour of light remains. If you can evade them for some time longer, you will be able to lose them as night falls. You You must decide which direction to fly. You are now in the center of Lake Inrahim. Consult the map before making your decisions. So, we could either head south towards Drahir Pass, or presumably right towards Chula. Yes. Chula is nearer. The pass is further away. Let's go with Chula. You can clearly see the main highway that links Chula to the capital. It crosses the desolate salt plain of Lake Inrahim by means of a causeway 30 feet high, and it's a useful landmark, which you can use to steer. Little stone houses with beaten earth roofs are grouped in small clusters along the highway, their numbers increasing as you draw nearer to the town. 5 miles from Chula, you notice a dark cloud hovering several hundred of feet above one of the villages. A cloud of Cran. They are moving to intercept you. The Ikatar squeals in pain. A splash of feathers billows out of its wing. A Cran has closed in from behind, is less than 100 yards distant. The riders holster an empty bronze crossbow and draws his black sword. His bolt had passed through the wing of your mount. Prepares to strike as your mount loses height and speed. Okay, so we fight the dragon rider. We insta-kill him, because he sucks. And actually we got a critical. We rolled a 0. 0 is like insta-win. You can clearly see the main highway that links Chula to the capital. It crosses the desolate... Oh, we did that. If the enemy loses more hit points than you, your blow has opened a wide gash in both the rider and his mount. His mount spins uncontrollably, discarding its black-clad rider as it spirals earthwards. With a terrible cry of the doomed rider fading below, you wheel to the south to avoid being caught between two converging squadrons of Cran riders. A quick change of direction increases the distance between you and your pursuers, but the Ikatar is badly wounded and you are close to despair. Your mount is losing so much blood that it could collapse into unconsciousness at any moment, dropping you like a stone into the lake. You spot something in the distance, a sight that renews your faith in miracles. Emerging from a bank of cloud in the skyline is a flying ship. A small craft no bigger than an Unorum river barge with 2 triangular sails, swept back either side of its curving prow. In the fading twilight, you can make out a pennant that flutters from its mast. A faint humming reaches your ears. Your first reaction is disbelief. What you are seeing must be a trick of the light or some fiendish illusion created by the Dark Lords. However, as the ship floats nearer, you can sense it is indeed quite real. I have been given a star pendant. Standing at the fortified platform at the center of the strange craft is the blonde-haired man with deep, brooding eyes. You instantly recognize him. It is Bane, the young summer-lending magician who gave you the crystal star pendant at the ruins of Raumus after you saved his life in a Giak ambush in Book 1. You are stunned by his unexpected appearance. You fail to notice the blood seeping from your mount's mouth. The creature is near to death. The great bird lets out a pitiful and agonized caw. Its wings stiffen, its head falls limp. The last flicker of life escapes its torn body. It pitches forward. Your stomach heaves as you plummet towards the lake. The chill air whips past your face as you tumble towards Lake Inrahim. The Kran riders, the skyship, and the distant horizon melt into a kaleidoscope of shapes and images. You fear these will be the last things you ever see. You have prepared yourself for death and feel calm and relaxed. However, you suddenly feel your body engulfed by a mass of sticky fibers. There is a terrific jolt, which leaves you breathless and stunned, lose 2 hit points. The impossible is happening. You are no longer falling, but rising. You have been caught by a net of sticky strands, like a fly in a web. You rise into the sky towards the flying ship as quickly as you fell. 3 bearded dwarves, clad in bright, padded battle jerkins, pull you aboard an outrigger that runs the length of the hull. There is no time to express your gratitude, for the small skyship is under attack from the Kran riders. At the end of the outrigger, a dwarf is in hand-to-hand combat with a snarling Dakar. He is losing the battle. As you rush to help him, another of the evil warriors lands at the center. Sure, we'll help the dwarf. Kill the person fighting the dwarf. Insta-kill. You win combat turn here. The warrior falls to his knees and makes a horrible rasping noise as he tries in vain to prise open his shattered death mask. Your blows have staved in his helm? Shouldn't it be caved? And the buckled metal has fractured his skull. You lash out with your foot, kicking him from the outrigger, sending him spiraling down to Lake Inrahim to join the dwarf that he murdered. But the dwarf is neither dead nor hundreds of feet below. He hangs by his foot, unconscious, snagged in the netting below the outrigger boards. You grab his leg and haul him to safety before continuing the fight. The platform looks empty. No heads are showing above the armored parapet, but you sense something is wrong. Instinctively, you leap up from the outrigger onto the main hull, your weapon poised to strike. Ducking beneath the boomsel, you clamber onto the platform in time to witness a desperate struggle. The blonde-haired magician is pinned to the deck, his left arm skewered by a spear. With his staff in his right hand, he is trying to fend off the dismounted Cran Rinder. The Drakar senses your presence and whirls around and draws a twisted black scimitar from his scabbard. Please kill him quickly enough that we save Bane. Excellent. If you win the fight quickly, turn here. The Drakar curses you with his dying breath, his cry fading as he falls from the platform. You rush to aid your wounded countryman, but the battle is not yet over. A Cran rider is swooping towards you. A crossbow leveled at your head. He fires, and the bolt shoots towards your face. Then a shrill metallic whine rings in your ears as the bolt miraculously ricochets away. I have been given the Crystal Star Pendant. Bane lowers his staff, the trace of a wry smile on his pain-racked face. I was too slow to protect myself, Lone Wolf, he says, glancing at his arm. You kneel at his side and free the spear that pins him to the floor. The wound is serious. Hastily, you staunch the bleeding with strips of cloth torn from his dark blue robes. You recognize the robes, for they are the attire of a journeyman. It seems that young Baindon has achieved distinction among his brother magicians since last you met. It appears that we were fated to meet in their company, he says. Help me to my feet. We must escape before they drag us from the sky. You support the magician as he drags the ship's helm. As he grasps the ship's helm. A radiant crystal sphere with hundreds of glowing facets set on a slim silver rod. No sooner has his hand closed around it than there is a tremendous explosion. The explosion is followed by a huge cloud of smoke which engulfs a cabin perched on the rear deck. As the noise rumbles along the desolate salt plain, you hear the agonizing shriek of a wounded crown. It spirals past the platform, a ragged hole rent in its broken wing. So the dwarves have guns? The smoke clears to reveal the grinning face of a dwarf at the cabin window. A smear of soot blackens his rosy cheeks and exaggerates the whiteness of his crooked teeth. He is holding a tube of smoking steel that you assume to be a magic staff, until you notice that each of the dwarves carry identical ones. As they point them at the swooping Kran, gouts of smoke and flame bellow from their tips. You recognize the weapons and their wielders. They are the dwarves from the mountain kingdom of Bor, armed with one of the inventions for which their ingenious artisans are justly famous throughout Magnamund. The Kran are terrified by the noise. They turn their leathery tails and fly away. The Drakim riders powerless to stop them. The primitive guns have claimed only one victim, but they have nevertheless driven the enemy off and saved the skyship from the disaster. Bane steers the craft around, banking steeply until the ship faces the darkening peaks of the southern mountains and the distinct V-shaped cleft of Dahir Pass. Pick a number from the random number table. Done. The dwarves are clearing the deck of battle debris. A dead Dracoia lies sprawled face down among the piles of chests and sacks roped beneath the boomsaw. As the dwarves grab his leg to cast him over the side, he suddenly springs to life, sending the dwarves tumbling in all directions. He screams like a fiend, his black axe cutting a wide arc around his blood-smeared body. A curse, vile and evil, echoes from his death mask as he draws back the axe. If you have hunting or sixth sense, turn to 220. You dive aside, your Kai skill saving you from the axe that was spinning towards the platform. There is a deafening bang, and the Drakkar is flung backwards, his breastplate torn open by the dwarf shot. He gives a long, agonizing death cry as he disappears from sight, tumbling into the darkness that surrounds the speeding skyship. As if in answer to the shot, a menacing roll of thunder rumbles across the darkening plain from Barrakesh. It is as if the city itself were cursing your escape. Bane appears at our side, his face lined with concern. He offers a shaky hand to help you to your feet. You notice the makeshift bandage. His wound is soaked with blood. He is pale, close to collapse. We have healing. Clasping your hands around his injured arm, you concentrate your skill on the torn muscle and bone. The warmth of your healing power numbs the pain and repairs the internal damage sufficiently to be able to remove the blood-soaked strips of cloth. The wound is open, but you have saved his limb. "We'll help him now, Lone Wolf," shouts a strange voice. You're surprised by his bold claim and turn around to discover who made it. Two dwarves clamber onto the platform and hurry to their young captain's side. One flicks open a red velvet satchel strapped to his barrel-like chest and removes a glass vial with a clean linen bandage. They attend to the wound and his strength returns. Bane listens intently to your account of the terrifying tales that led to his meeting. As you conclude your woeful tale, Bane speaks, his voice full of grim determination. "The future of Summerlin rests in our hands, Lone Wolf. We must stop Dark Lord Hakken from destroying the Book of the Magnakai. I have heard tell of the tomb of the Majhan and the nomads of the Dry Main. They say it is a terrible place, a place of horror and death. What little there is left to die there. It lies beyond the Dahir, near the oasis of Bal Loftan. That is all I know, but the Majhan hid their tombs well. For the Majhan hid their tombs well, and what few traces remain have long since disappeared beneath the shifting sands of the Dry Main." Your face conveys the disappointment you feel upon hearing these words. "However, all is not lost," says Bane. "There is a man who can guide us there. His name is Tipasa Edarok, Tipasa the Wanderer. It is he whom we must seek, for he is the only man who has ever entered the tomb and lived to tell the tale." Bane takes the helm of his extraordinary ship, the Skyrider, as the dwarves call it. It speeds through the darkness towards the Dahir Pass. Visibility diminishes with each minute until finally you can see no further than the outriggers. You feel uneasy. If the Skyrider veers but a fraction off course, it would be smashed to pieces against the mountainside. "Do not worry, Lone Wolf," says Nolrim, the dwarf with the velvet satchel. "The captain will see us through." Baindam stands with his hand resting lightly on the glowing crystal, relaxed as if in trance. His eyes are closed and a crackle of energy like fine white lightning traces an intricate pattern over his forehead and temples. The dwarves lead you to a cabin at the rear of the craft, the crew excitedly recounting their victory over the Cran riders. They are seated about a table, cluttered with plates of steaming food and jugs of foaming ale. The rich smell of spiced meat and boar brew fills your nostrils, reminding you of how ravenously hungry you are. You make short work of the meat and marrow placed before you. Restore 3 hit points. You are unsure about accepting a jug of ale. Boar brew is so strong that in many cities of Magnamund it has been banned for fear of the havoc that it may cause. Sure, why not? Roll a random number table. Dwarves continue their meal, pausing only to light large hooded pipes. Through the bluish hue of the pipe smoke that clouds the cabin, you notice that they are casting nervous glances at you, as if you might explode at any moment. After 5 minutes have passed, Nolorum raises his tankard and proclaims to Lone Wolf, a man among dwarves. The dwarves gawf at Nolorum's wry toast and raise their tankards in a salute to your courage and fortitude. The Borbaru has loosened their tongues, and they are eager to tell you of their past exploits. You learn that the dwarves were once the crew of a more conventional vessel, a merchantman that sailed the Tentrius of southern Magnamund. The Tentrius is the vast expanse of lakes and landlocked seas which connect to form a contiguous canal stretching nearly 3,000 miles. They were created, as was the Rime Rift of Duranor, by a massive landslide. 3 years ago, the dwarves' former captain, a dwarf by the name of Quan, lost his ship, cargo and crew whilst gambling at cards. It seems the unfortunate captain was unaware of Bane's true profession until it was far too late. As a result, Bane became the dwarves' captain and has ever since had them adventure with him across the lands and skies of southern Magnamund. The Skyrider itself was given to him by the magicians of Desi, in return for his help in defeating the Gagadoth, a monstrous creature that terrorized their land, over which their own sorcery could not prevail. The Skyrider was travelling from Desi on its way back to Barrakesh when you appeared. The dwarves have overheard your talk with Bane and are excited by the prospect of a new adventure. They seem undaunted by the deadly dangers that it will certainly involve. The fatigue of your ordeal finally catches up to you. You find it impossible to keep your eyes open. Nolorum shows you to a bunk with the Skyrider. You climb into bed, pull up the blankets over your aching limbs. He apologizes that it is short, but his words fall on deaf ears. You are already asleep. You wake shortly after dawn to the sound of snoring dwarves and the hum of the Skyrider. Gathering your equipment, you climb on deck to find everything in shadow, for the Skyrider is hovering beneath a massive outcrop of sandstone that juts out from the side of the mountain, thousands of feet above the valley floor below. Bane stands at the helm, though no longer in trance. Kran riders, he says, pointing to the sun-bleached valley beyond the shadows. They arrived with the dawn. You stare out across the alien landscape. A mountain valley filled with pillars of massive and precariously balanced boulders. The Vassagonians call this place the Coos, the Needles. The rocky columns reach so high into the sky that an avalanche seems unavoidable. Perched upon two of the columns are Cran, their Dracarim riders scouring the valley with telescopes. An hour passes before they take to the air and disappear. Trim the boomsail, Bosun Nolorum, orders Baindum, his voice barely audible above the increasing hum of the Skyrider. We have a fast run ahead. I do not have a black crystal cube. The voyage through the Coos is breathtaking. The Skyrider glides between the towers of rock that rise from the valley floor with fantastic and unearthly grandeur. Far below, sulphurous water bubbles from fissures in the orange ground, and streams of hissing lava carve circular channels which glow like motes of liquid fire. You watch the sky, but there are no signs of the enemy. Ikaresh, says Bane pensively. The Eagle's Lair. That is where we will find Tipasa the Wanderer. It is the place of his birth and the home of his family. He roams the dry main, but he always returns there. It is the late afternoon when you reach the hills beyond the Coos that overlook the towns of Ikaresh. Bane moors the Skyrider to a pinnacle of stone, and a rope ladder is lowered to the ground. It is decided that you will enter Ikaresh on foot and locate Tipasa, while Nolorum and the crew wait in hiding for your return. The sight of the Skyrider hovering above the mountain town would be sure to arouse unwanted interest. You and Bane prepare yourself for your mission by staining your skins with brown kopala berries. We put on blackface and dress in grey and white robes, commonly worn by the mountain people of this region. You bid farewell to Nolram and set off across the barren hills. We don't roll 0, 1, or 2. You trudge through the loose red sand, your faces covered to protect them from the dust and the blazing heat. The landscape is stark and desolate. All that seems to thrive here is the wire-hard grass that scratches your boots and leggings. You soon come across a dried riverbed that leads into a cave in the orange sandstone hillside. A wooden plaque is nailed by its mouth to the cave. You are unable to understand the words painted on its sun-blistered surface. Sure, investigate the cave. Rows of stalactites hang from the roof like the fangs of some incredible monster, and the bubbling of a distant geyser echoes eerily through the unknown depths. You begin to explore the cave and reach a place where a natural bridge of rock arches over a streaming course of water, red with ore. Huddled beneath the bridge is a pathetic figure, its body bent and emaciated. A tattered blanket covers his face, and its withered hands clutches a crude fishing rod. A small catch of lava crabs lies on its back, their claws twitching as they slowly die. As you move nearer, the figure raises his face to stare at you. It is a man. The sight of his face shocks you to the core. If you have healing, turn here. The old man's face is a mask of putrescent green sores. The pupils of his eyes are yellow, and his ragged grey lips hang in tatters. He suffers from vaxillus, an infectious disease that rots the skin and attacks the nerves, resulting in hideous mutilation and deformity. He has been cast out from his community, banished to this cave where we must each eke out his last few days. I do not possess the herb, or I don't wish to give it to him. I don't possess it, so we run away. You race along the rock-strewn cave, eager to escape from the infected old man. The horrific stories that you've heard about the plague thing make you careless in your haste. You lose 2 of your backpack items. Choose which 2. Meal. And I'm going to guess hourglass. Once outside the cave, you and Baindon waste no time in pressing on towards Ikaresh. As you near the outskirts of the town, you pass a small, round hut where a goat is eating from a manger near the door. A man appears in the darkened doorway and bids you welcome. He touches his forehand in a salute of friendship and invites you to enter his humble house. If you have the discipline of 6 cents, turn to 365. You sense that the man's show of friendship is genuine. He may be able to help you find Tipasa the Wanderer, if you accept his hospitality. Sure. The man is short of stature, but broad-shouldered and strongly built. Physical characteristics common among the tough mountain dwellers of Vaz Agonia. He pulls a cork from the bottle of lime green wine and pours 3 large measures into earthenware cups. "Koshar!" he exclaims, and downs the wine in a mighty gulp. If you follow his example and drink the strange wine... Sure, let's be friendly. You drink it, it tastes delicious. The warm glow radiates slowly from your stomach, filling you with a sense of well-being. Heal 2 hit points. He looks delighted by your reaction to his wine and offers to sell you a bottle. Sure, what's my money? My money's not doing anything for me in my inventory, except occasionally getting told, "You already have too much money. Why are you picking up more money?" Question him about Tipasa. He replies thoughtfully, Tipasa. He lives near the Dugger Market. But exactly where his home is, I am not sure. I have not seen him for years. If you should find him, tell him of Sin, the goat herd. He owes me 12 crowns that I have not forgotten. You thank the goat herd for his help and bid him farewell. You follow the path along a dry gully, the bed of an ancient river that once flowed through the mountains. An arid breeze blows eddies of red dust along the banks of the earth. The white-walled buildings of Icaresh suddenly appeared, and as the dust settles, you find yourself standing in a small square close to an open archway at the town's east gate. Perched upon a tall basalt monolith in the center is an eagle, an emblem of this mountain town, cast in bronze. 3 bronze arrows are held in its beak, each indicating an exit from the square. We were told he's near the Dugger Market, so we will head to the Dugger Market. 40 paces along the street is a barracks, a long, whitewashed building with ugly square windows. A soldier sits dozing in the evening sun with his spear resting across his lap. Some children are tossing hollowed-out lanuma fruit at him, trying to catch them upon the tip of his spear. Opposite the barracks is a tavern with a line of saddled duggars, tied to a rail near the main door. The braying of these sand horses rivals the sounds of revelry drifting from the tavern door. So they're camels? If you wish to enter the tavern, if you wish to continue along the street towards the Dugger Market, you pass under an arch where the 2 brass-gilded conical towers gleam like gold, and enter a marketplace crowded with squabbling merchants. Exotic carpets, brightly coloured material, and all manner of foods are bought, sold, and haggled over. The north side of the market is devoted to the auction of duggars. The sleek but noisy desert beasts are being paraded for the benefit of bidders around a paddock. Joining their stables, just past the stables, a street vanishes into the carpet weavers' quarters of Icaresh. If you wish to investigate the stables, turn to 309. If you wish to ask one of the merchants if they know where Tapasa lives, turn to 248. If you wish to leave the marketplace and continue along the adjoining street, let's ask the merchants. A small, heavy-set merchant is hawking his wares from a stall set close to the archway. His small, beady eyes twinkle from beneath a ridiculously outsized turban. As you approach, he launches himself at you, trying desperately with a flood of wild claims to persuade you to buy his obviously inferior goods. He looks surprised when you interrupt him with his question. Tipasa? Yes, I know where he lives. He holds up a gaudy waistcoat of pink and orange sackcloth and offers it to you. It would make a worthy gift for your esteemed friend, he suggests, his eyes continually glancing at your belt pouch. Only 5 crowns, good master. You realize you will first have to purchase this ridiculous garment before the merchant will tell you where he lives. I will pay the 5 crowns. The merchant's face beams with joy as he pockets your gold. Deduct this from your inventory. The first alley on the left past the stables. He lives in the house with the blue door. You hurry across the crowded marketplace towards the stables and enter the street beyond. As you turn into the rubbish-strewn alley, you see the blue door facing you. There is no reply to your first knock, but you're about to knock again when the door opens a few inches and the red-rimmed eyes of a woman stare at you from the darkness. "Bane!" she exclaims, her voice hoarse and shaky. "Thanks the gods, it is you!" She ushers you both inside and locks the door. The house is sparsely furnished, and what little there is either damaged or broken. "They've taken him, Bane. They've taken my husband. The men with the faces of the dead. 10 days ago, they came like shadows in the night." She breaks down, her frail body racked by sobs. Bane comforts her as best he can, but you sense he shares her bitter loss. The Dracarim have taken Tapasa, of that you have no doubt. By now they will have made him tell them everything they know about the tomb of the Majan. "We will find him, I promise," says Bane, wiping a tear from the old woman's face, "but you must try to help us. He always kept a diary of his travels. Do you have it?" A flicker of hope shines in the woman's eyes. "Yes, it's here. He told me to hide it when the evil men came." She kneels at the empty fireplace and prizes a loose brick from the chimney. A leather-bound book drops from its hiding place into her hands. She gives it to Bane, who studies the yellow pages, his face lined with thought. You notice that the book is full of cryptic symbols, numbers, and pictograms. They are drawn by the night stars, says Baindom, tracing his fingers along the astronomical drawings. They hold the secret, but without my star charts we cannot hope to find the tomb. We must return to the Sky Rider at once. There I shall be able to make sense of the book. You sleep little that night as you lie thinking about the quest that lies before you, haunted by the fear that the Dark Lords may already have found the Book of the Magna Chi. You rise before dawn and breakfast on a meal of sheep's butter and dried milk cake, before bidding farewell to Tapas's wife. The trek back to the Sky Rider passes uneventfully, and by noon you have reached the rocky crag where the craft is moored. Nolrim is the first to greet you, but he cannot hide his disappointment that you have returned unaccompanied. Do not worry, the answer lies here, says Bane, holding up the diary. Prepare to set sail. As the Sky Rider rides into the clear blue sky, Bane hands over the helm to Nolrim and bids you follow him to his quarters. For 3 hours he pores over his charts, making calculations, checking instrument readings, racking his brain for a solution that will pinpoint the tomb. It is no use. I simply cannot fathom the numbers. As you peer at the pages of the diary, suddenly you realize they are written in code. What Bane had assumed to be positions of the stars is a code to 3 numbers that give you the precise location of the tomb. Consult the map to help you discover the location of the tomb. The first of the 3 numbers is equal to the number of oases on the trail between Ikarash and Bur Riblau. Okay. The first number is the number of oases. I should probably write these down. Number of oases between Ikarash and Bur Rabalu. Number of cities in Vasagonia. Number of islands off the coast of Cape Kabar. When we go look at our map, so between here's Bur Rabau, but where is Irakesh? Or Ikaresh? There is no Ikaresh. There is no Ikaresh. Shenanigans. Ah, there's Ikaresh. Okay. So here, 1, 2, 3, there. So the first number is 3. The number of cities in Vasagonia. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That seems too many. Maybe cities only count as things with flags? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 question mark? And the number of islands off the coast of Cape Kabar. I mean, it's got to be these 2 islands, right? Or actually, there's 3. 1, 2, 3. No, this is Cape Kabar, which is still 3. So 363? Turn back to the previous section and retry. Yep, you can't have a city if you don't have a flag. Them's the rules. 3, 3. Well, let's just start brute forcing. 1. No. So the trouble here is that the key here doesn't indicate what counts as a city. So is Marrakesh a city? Is Chula a city? Is Cape Kabar a city? Is Rabaulu a city? Is Bisutan a city? If we count everything that's like this, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. But that doesn't make sense because it's meant to be a single-digit number. You know what? Let's just start from 9 and work our way down. Seven was the magic number of cities. So let's go have a look. What could possibly count? Six is the number of ones with flags. Maybe that one somehow also counts as big enough, but the other ones are too small. Yeah, that's a bit poor design. Anyway, that's it! Exclaims Bane, stabbing his finger at the map of the dry main that covers his chart table. 115 miles due west of Bur Rabalu. 115 miles due south of the oasis of Bal Lofton. He picks up a quill and marks the spot. The tomb of the Majhan. You study the map and ponder the miles of desolation separating you from your goal. He notices your look of dismay and quickly tries to put your mind at ease. Fear not. We will be there before the dawn. You smile at his confidence, though it is not just the journey that worries you. It is concern for what you may or may not find upon your arrival. Dawn is breaking on the horizon of a low hill, blurred and dotted with small tufts of trees. Swiftly, the Sky Rider has voyaged through the night to arrive at the foothills of the Konesi Mountains, in whose folds the skyship is safely tucked away from watchful eyes. 20 miles to the north, across a landscape of barren rock and dry brush, lies the tomb of the Majhan. You and Baindon set off before the dawn, anxious not to waste time or the cover of darkness. Now, as the great golden disk of the sun rises in the sky, for the first time you see your goal. A massive excavation has exposed the heart of this scorched land, delving deep around the tombs of its forgotten ancestors. Thousands of Giaks, spiteful and malicious servants of the Dark Lords, labor unceasingly to remove rock and sand from the quarry, forced by Drakerim to drag their back-breaking loads up ramps to the rim of the crater. Close to the edge of the crater, an encampment of black tents surrounds a large domed canopy. Lying in the shade of this construction is a huge flying creature, an imperial land beast. Its presence here can only mean one thing. Dark Lord Hakon has arrived. The thought chills your blood. but you draw comfort from the labor. You draw comfort from the labor of his slaves. Don't worry, Lone Wolf. They're only slaves. That they continue to labor is a sign that their mission has yet to be completed. The book must not yet have been found. It is impossible to approach the crater unseen. You'll have to wait for darkness before you attempt to enter the tomb. During the long wait, it is agreed that Baindun should attempt to find Tapasa. It is likely that he is being held captive inside the encampment. The Dark Lords would be unlikely to kill him before discovering the treasure they seek. During the day, you must eat a meal. You may not hunt, because this is the middle of a wasteland. Make the necessary adjustments to your action chart. Skip meal, suffer health loss. Sucks to be me. As night falls, your desperate quest begins. The Giaks pose few problems that you cannot overcome with your skills, for they have been overworked to the point of exhaustion. Only the Dracarim show any sign of vigilance. But even then, there are less than a dozen patrolling the entire crater. Not until you reach the main entrance of the tomb do you have any real difficulty. A Drakkar stands on guard, his cruel eyes glinting behind his twisted iron death mask. Occasionally he diverts his attention from the watch to take a drink from a water flask. We have mind over matter. You focus your skill on a nearby spade, willing the spade handle to rattle against the wheelbarrow. It only takes a few seconds for the guard to leave his post and investigate the noise. By the time he returns, you are inside the tomb. Thank you, Bummer. We'll start that section again. My bad. I coughed and didn't unmute. As far as the eye can see, a long, straight sandstone corridor slopes away in the distance. Torches crackle and splutter on the walls, illuminating the pictograms engraved in the yellow stone. At regular intervals, rough-edged slabs protrude into the main corridor. You stop to take a look at these slabs and the floor beneath, and come to a frightening conclusion. They are obviously traps, no doubt set off by the Giaks when they cleared the corridor of sand. Rather than instructing the Giaks to avoid them, the Dark Lords deliberately use their slaves to set them off. When the Dark Lords find the enemy tomb filled with traps, their Giak slaves advance as if there were no traps. Once the traps have been sprung, the squashed bodies were cleared away and slabs chiseled through to the next section. Pit traps in the floors seem to have been neutralized in a similar manner, set off by luckless Giaks that were then filled in with the dead bodies and leveled off with sand. The thought of this heartless barbarity fills you with revulsion. Just over a mile along the corridor, you eventually arrive at a large stone door. The stone surrounds bear evidence of chisel work, but the doors itself is rock solid. You notice a faint beam of light descending from a hole in the ceiling. It creates a circular pool of light a little to one side of a similar hole in the floor. In the wall near the door, there is a triangular indentation, no larger than a gold crown. We do possess a prism. Holding the prism in the center of the beam, you divert the light towards the hole in the floor. You hear the sound of stone grating on stone as the door slowly opens to reveal a large chamber. It is dimly lit, but in it, the dust that covers the marble floor, you can see the footprints too numerous to count. As you enter, you suddenly catch sight of a rough stone throne, facing the wall on the far side of the chamber. Behind you, the door slides shut with unnerving speed. The throne begins to revolve. A terrible howling fills your ears, changing almost instantaneously to the growling of a harsh, guttural language, the likes of which you have never heard. Words and sounds that the mouths of men could never shaped roll through the chamber like thunder. It is the dark tongue spoken by Hakon, Lord of Anarak, Dark Lord of Helgadad. He rises from the throne, the ghastly voice still echoing from his unnatural mouth. A spiked fist opens to reveal a glowing stone. Blue flame smolders around its surface. You can feel the currents of power that radiate from its core. Suddenly his words change and you hear a tongue you know too well, Summerlending. Look upon your doom, Kai Lord. There is a deafening crack and a surge of power as a fireball hurtles towards your head. We have the summer sword. We use parry. You raise the golden sword in time to deflect the bolt of energy. It screams from your blade and explodes into the chamber wall, gouging a hole several feet deep in the steel hard rock. The impact jars the summer sword from your hand. The blade arcs through the dust-choked air and embeds itself upright in the stone floor. You roll across the floor and take cover behind a pillar. Your doom is but seconds away. I want the sword. You run half-crouched towards the golden blade. You continue at full speed. A burst of energy leaps from his fist, exploding into the base of the pillar, severing it from the floor. A tremendous roar fills your ears as you are thrown backwards. You lose endurance. He laughs. He fills your head with pain. You scream for the agony to cease. You are still alive. Suddenly the pain subsides, but the onslaught has only just begun. Can we please use one of our potions of healing? Use. Yes. That thing has so much health that it is worrying. I'm going to eat another potion. Okay, we're at full health for this fight. Oof. Suddenly the pain subsides, but the onslaught has only just begun. A mist as black as the grave is seeping from Hakon's mouth. It creeps along his outstretched arms and settles in a cloud in the palm of his upturned hand. Whirling shadow shapes draw into focus. Wings and tentacles sprout and take form. A curse in the dark tongue shakes the whole chamber as the deadly flood of horrors hurtle from his hand. Crypt spawn. Go. 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 So we're at like... We're at 3/4 health. If you win combat, turn here. You slay the last of the crypt spawn. Hakon reels back as if weakened by the death of his creatures. You raise the summer sword, willing the blade to discharge a bolt of power that burns the evil Dark Lord from the face of Magnamund forever. The blade shimmers with golden fire, but no searing blast issues from its tip. You realize what has happened. You are beneath the earth, and there is no sun from which the sword can draw forth its power. Hakon utters a terrible laugh and shakes the floor. A beam of blue flame is glowing on the stone in the stone in his hands, forming a fiery blade that crackles and spits as it cuts through the dust-choked air. The stench of death and decay fills your nostrils as he prepares to attack. Unless you have Mind Shield, reduce your combat skill by 2. So he is barely less skillful and has more health. Ow. Oh, we're doing more damage though. Oh yeah, we should be fairly safe. Oof. You examine the floor where Dark Lord Hakon fell, but there are no signs of his body. The atmosphere is strangely calm and peaceful, as if a great and evil shadow had been lifted. If you lost the Summer Sword in the confrontation with him, you may now retrieve it. You turn and walk to the throne where he sat, waiting for you to appear. Beyond it lies a portal, an ancient inscription carved deep into the blood-red stone. Below the carving is a set of impressions of a human hand. Instinct and intuition guides your hand to the door. The carving fits around it like a glove. Silently, the portal slides back to identify your destiny, the Book of the Magnakai. Set on a pedestal, the book lies open, its secrets revealed to your eyes. As you lift the sacred book, the very air throbs with a vibration of force locked within its sun-golden cover. With a pounding heart, you close the book and hurry from the chamber. By the time you reach the foothills of the Kaneshi, Bane has successfully completed his mission. He and Tipasa are waiting for you. As they see you appear, clutching the Book of the Magnakai, they can barely contain their excitement. This night is one of triumph, says Bane, jubilantly. It will herald a new dawn of hope for Summerland. The Kai can be reborn. Your quest is now over. You have found the Book of the Magnakai and free Magnamund from the shadow of Dark Lord Hakon. But for you, High Master Lone Wolf, the story has only just begun. Your destiny lies along the path of the Grand Masters, to learn their secrets and attempt the first exciting quest of the Magnakai. Begin your journey with Book 6 of Lone Wolf, entitled The Kingdoms of Terror. Alright, and we have a book without a death. We're running above par. Below par. Woo! Although if that last 2 combats had have gone worse, I remember dying to those last 2 combats as a kid. Okay. Join us next time for Book 6.